Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Esden. I play bass and sing in Saturdays at your place.
And how old are you?
I'm 26. I started playing bass in 2017. I tried to play guitar, but it was too hard and I couldn't figure it out. And it was all self-taught. And then the bass just clicked a little bit better for me because the less notes and or less strings, and you're usually playing one note at a time. And then from there, I got really into like punk music and listened to like a lot of like No Effects and like Rancid and all those like old like, punk bands. And I just kind of started learning from there. My first band was actually with Gabe and Mitch. We had a punk band called Never Better. On Saturdays formed like right after that.
I remember in the first interview that we did, the audio interview, you guys wouldn't tell me what the name of that first band was.
Oh, really? Yeah, I don't really want people to find it, but I don't care anymore.
How do you think
there is stuff online.
How do you think that music differs from the music that you guys make now?
Well, that was just straight punk. We had a different vocalist, our friend Dustin, who was just like a punk singer. It wasn't melodic. I guess like the songs written were more just like thrashy, like punk party songs. But the Saturdays, there's a lot of like, we put a lot of intention and time into every song. Like every song kind of tells a story. Me or Gabe or Mitch will have something and then just kind of bring it together. And sometimes we'll have like 95% of the song done and just need to work on transitions. Other times we will like start from like 60% and build from there, and it becomes more collaborative. But it really just depends on the song.
And how did you three come together in the first place?
It was through our mutual friend who was a singer of the first band. We all went to Western together. Only one of us graduated, and that was Mitch. Mitch graduated with a chemistry degree, and me and Gabe both dropped out to go on tour. But me and Gabe were in the multimedia arts technology program for like recording and video and stuff. And we didn't know each other, but we met through our mutual friend, and same with Mitch. And then they all eventually moved in together and lived in the same house, and like that's where everything happened.
Where was that house, if you don't mind me asking?
It was 611 Wheaton. That was the one. Yeah.
I remember used to like walk by that house and hear your guys' music.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we would play really fucking loud back then. We also didn't have like ears or anything, so all of our vocals were coming through like big PA speakers that I bought with my Guitar Center discount. But yeah, the bass was like the first like real instrument that I like actually took time to learn. But I'm still like I would not consider myself like a musician. Like I can play songs and write songs, but I'm not a guy that you could be like, you know, give me a 1-5-6 in the key of C whatever, you know, like I'm not that guy. I could figure it out eventually, but you know.
Yeah, I resonate with that.
None of us really are. Mitch kind of knows the theory, and Gabe is good with. He's really good at production. I've gotten a lot better at production and like seeing visions of songs. But yeah, none of us are like theory guys. We can all figure it out. Mitch is our theory guy now, but he learned through the band. He wasn't a theory guy before.
Maybe we could talk a little bit about your guys' connection to the Kalamazoo DIY scene for a minute.
Yeah, I mean, that's how we started. Our first show we ever played was at my house that I threw just for like our friends, because it was at the end of the pandemic, and it was still like, that's when we got our start. We started in Yeah, we started in 2021, so things were still like up in the air. We didn't know, so we had like an outside show. We played our first show in the backyard of Xanadu House on Wheaton. That was a lot of fun. I mean, from there we played like, I mean, if you were around at the time, we played like 3 times a week for like a couple months. Like we were like playing every single show we got offered in Kalamazoo. So people were getting almost sick of us, but we were like, because of that, we were like the band coming out of the pandemic, which I think was really good for us at the time. After that, I started like making connections with other bands in different cities and DIY booking us. But yeah, we played, I mean, we were playing the Kalamazoo DIY scene up until our last show was on St. Patty's Day with Riley and Seaholm.
Was that Cat's Cradle, right?
Cat's Cradle, yeah, that was the last show we played. It was, what year was that? 2022? No, it was 2023. That was, so we played the Kalamazoo house show circuit for about 2 years.
I think that's kind of right when I was coming into this scene, was like early 2022. But I went to school here, I moved here in 2020, and I just didn't know about the scene for a good year and a half or two.
I was lucky to be in a program where a lot of people in that program were already involved in the DIY circuit. I think that a lot of people at that university would be really interested. And people who are not at the university too. I think anybody, you know, it's a scene kind of for everyone. Any band coming up in Kalamazoo is really lucky to be here, in my opinion. It's a really good jumping off point. You can establish a small audience in Kalamazoo. Like from there, like you can jump off to anywhere. Like you can go to Detroit, Chicago, like Bloomington, Indiana has like a pretty good DIY scene. Like Ohio, like you can kind of like go around the Midwest. And Milwaukee too. Milwaukee has X-Ray Bar and Arcade, and JJ's Bar and Grill is like a house venue there. I think that Kalamazoo is at the center of a lot of DIY tours because it's the perfect spot between Detroit and Chicago. And most bands, when booking DIY tours, you want to book less time in between shows because you have less money for gas. So like at most you want to go like 2 to 4 hours max in between shows, so you're not running out of money driving. But I think the DIY scene in Kalamazoo specifically does a great job of propping up the touring artists who just need like a show. I still to this day like have buddies who just hit me up like, hey, I need a DIY show in Kalamazoo, and I can hit up Ryan Fluke and immediately they have a show booked, you know, or like Ryan can point them in the right direction, and it's like from there, you know.
Yeah.
So it's like most people are just willing to give up their houses to the scene and just be dedicated to propping up music. It's pretty cool. With
experience, I've pieced together like helping touring bands helps the local bands when they're touring as well, because you make these connections of like, we hosted you when you came out here, we fed you, got you a place to sleep.
Donations.
Like, yeah, we gave you some gas money and sent you on your way, and then they returned the favor. It's like a little alliance between musicians.
Yeah, and it really like, ultimately like, it's, friendship. Like I feel like a lot of friends I made, like, or a lot of connections we made just were like for making friends. And then like, that all just comes naturally, you know, like you have to, there's some scenes that are a little more competitive, but I would say that the DIY scene here is really good at not being competitive and propping up every type of music. Like there's not a lot of metal bills where everybody's like you go into some metal shows and like the bands are obviously competing against each other, so who can play the hardest, who can play the fastest, or like jazz fusion can be that way too. You know, like the musicians are so good, but they're pushing each other, you
Yeah.
know? And I'd say that that's cool in its own way, but the DIY scene is cool because you can have a bill where it's screamo and then like dance punk, like Noah Shane Cool or something, and it's like the crowd's gonna love every second of it, and the musicians are gonna be hanging out and drinking beer with each other. Everybody just loves each other, you know? I think that's special.
And I guess on the flip side, what's something that you think the DIY scene could do better?
That's a hard question. I think that really putting the focus on, if you're playing a local gig, like everybody should be getting paid for this, but you should not be considered, or like houses should really be, and most of them are really good about this, but giving money to the touring band to make sure that they can keep going. Because locals get to just kind of go home to their house, and everybody should get money, but just making sure that touring bands that are coming through, that are scrapping it out and sleeping on living room floors, have enough money for gas. And I don't think that the scene necessarily does a bad job. I think that it does a really good job in a lot of ways, but that's like one focus, just making sure every band can sell their merch, and like, while also propping up those local bands. It goes both ways. But when you put the focus on the touring bands, like you said, those connections are going to come a lot easier, because the touring bands are going to be like, oh, they really took care of me. I'm ready to do whatever for them. And then that really keeps the scene going.
Sometimes that focus can get a little lost. You know, I think that's a good thing to point out, that prioritizing touring bands feeling like accommodated and comfortable where they are is a big piece of like getting Kalamazoo out there a bit more, you know, and like it's also just a good thing to do, like be kind to the people who come into your path.
Show them a good experience.
Yeah.
That's how we made most of our connections, is like, I feel like every touring band, whenever I put together a bill and found a band from Chicago that I liked, or Detroit, I was like, I'm gonna show these guys the best experience. Gonna make sure that they get the most donations, you know, like that they've got, you know, make sure that they have food and water, and that, you know, they're entirely comfortable and they know who to talk to about a place to stay if they need it, you know. And I'd say the scene does a pretty good job of that already.
Isn't it called Many Hats, your record?
Oh, yeah. Many Hats is a distributor. They press our vinyl and get it out to like stores, and they put our music on streaming, similar to like what DistroKid would do, but they're a little more involved. They're a subsidiary of Wax Bodega, which does a lot of like emo bands in the scene. We've been familiar with those guys for a long time. And they've always done right by the bands that we know. So working with them as distributors has really just been, it's a win-win situation. We went on tour with Arm's Length and Carly Cosgrove and Ben Quad on a tour in early last year, in spring of last year, called the Wax Bodega Tour. And it was basically all the bands on the label, but we were the only ones that weren't on the label. At the time we were with No Sleep Records, and we got on that tour, and I ended up meeting Fred and Zach like a few shows into that tour, just talking to them, hanging out in the green room. And then I think from there we got connected. We couldn't move on anything at the time because we were locked into a record deal with No Sleep. Like, we just kind of kept talking to them, and they're always at shows because a lot of the bands we play with are at Wax. So we kind of just have a rapport there now, after meeting them, you know. So yeah, I guess that's how we got connected. Luckily, like it was kind of more of a thing where like, yeah, they were interested in meeting us just because we had been lucky enough to make a splash on the internet and had a little bit of buzz surrounding us at the time. But like being on that tour was definitely what got us in the room with them. But it was never something that we were like seeking out. It just kind of like happened organically.
I think when I interviewed you last, we were talking about No Sleep.
Yeah, it ended up going out of business, and we now have all of our now have all of our rights back, and now we own all of our stuff. But it was just a little hiccup, you know, and we had the option to sign with another label or to not, but we ultimately decided, you know, we have the resources to do things ourselves. And we need a distributor, like we have a booking agent, we have people who are on our team, but ultimately we don't answer to anybody but ourselves. Record labels are awesome, like some of them are awesome, some of them are not, but ultimately it's about how much are they helping us and at what cost, you know, like at the end of the day you want your label to work for you and not you work for them. And it really just, that's the difference between a good label and a bad label in my opinion. And like there's a lot of good labels that we talk to, like, and a lot of really good people that we like got on phone calls about this new record, but ultimately, you know, we just have the resources to do it ourselves, so it just makes sense. And a lot of those people, like, I'll see at shows and like we'll hang out, you know, we're friends, you know. But yeah, we're just lucky enough to be in a position now where we can handle things. At the end of the day, that's what it comes down to, is the service that they provide for the money that they're loaning you. And you know, the service entails distribution, and sometimes you can get booking out of it, but not so much anymore, like in today's industry. Sometimes you sign a merch deal and they'll print some merch for you, or they'll help you with direction and maybe help you with PR and marketing. So it really just depends on what you want. I'd say that like record deals are way more negotiable than people think they are, like, cause a lot of bands, like we did this, we saw the first deal we got and we were like we should probably sign this, you know, we might not get another one. And that's where, like, I think that's where people go wrong sometimes, instead of just sitting and being like, well, let's see how this release does, and then maybe we can go back to them, because if a label's interested, they're probably always going to be interested.
And I guess, like, what are the benefits of owning your own music and producing it yourself?
You're your own boss. You own the entirety of your labor. You pay people to do things for you, but you, like, one thing about us printing our own merch and like doing our own stuff is that we now own every part of our band. Like, it belongs to us. We're not splitting our streaming revenue or our like merch sales or vinyls. Like we own that, and we can now invest it back into our band. And having somebody who can handle that side of it while you try and stay on the creative side is really important too. Like, we have my cousin Tyson is our manager, but he does a whole lot more than manage, you know, like he prints merch and makes music videos. He goes on the road with us. He's also our tour manager and was our videographer for a while, but he hires everybody now. Like, he talks to people every day about like who we can get on our team, you know. You call the shots, like you decide who you work with and what exactly you put out and when. Like it's all you. And a lot of labels let you call the shots. Like, I'd say that there's a ton of labels that I would be happy if we were on right now, but it just, the way it worked out, we're just in a better spot to just do it ourselves.
Yeah. I think that's awesome, because I feel like you guys were able to generate some traction with having that support, and that support's like, well, now you guys own all your music again.
Yeah.
To have complete creative freedom and get, like you said, all of the money from what you make. It's,
right.
Like, to me, that's the dream.
Yeah, we're really lucky in that way, and you know, we're a lot of the money just goes right back into the band. you know, we're building something that we view it as long term, you know. You should never be short-sighted, you know. Like, your band can be as big as you want it to be. Like, if you have something good and you have good music, like, people will want to support that. So I feel like lots of bands in Kalamazoo could definitely do what we're doing. Because when we first started, I mean, we'd go on tour and we'd be like just emptying our bank accounts to fill up the gas tank, and being like, I hope we sell like 3 shirts tonight so we can have gas. And we couldn't even eat fast food. Like, we couldn't even afford it. Like, we'd cook ramen on like a camp stove, you know, and eat like peanut butter and crackers, you know, and cans of beans. And it was just doing it and doing anything you can to be out there doing it. Like, and we all worked full time up until last spring. Like, we weren't able to like make this our real jobs, and like, we sacrificed so many weekends. And I wouldn't even call it really sacrificing, because I love doing it, but we would like take our weekend to drive to Ann Arbor and play a show, and then try and book something in Detroit too. Like, we just playing as much as possible in as many cities as possible. So we're very lucky to do what we do, I think.
And too, to feel like that's well deserved based on the effort that you guys have put in, like working full time and booking yourself both weekend nights, for example, like touring with whatever means possible.
And a ton of bands do that, you know, like that's like the heart and soul of DIY, you know. It's just like you just have to keep going. Like, and we're very lucky to like catch the traction that we did, but like, I'm a firm believer that part of the reason we caught traction is because we were willing to put in that work. Like, you have to be scrappy. Even our first 2 tours, we slept. Even like when we got our tour with Free Throw in Prince Daddy and the Hyena, yeah, we slept in our van for those entire tours, and because we didn't have the money for hotels, and we maybe could have found the money, but we knew it would be better to just rough it out and save that money to invest in more merch or a vinyl pressing, like whatever we could do, you know. So eventually on the Wax tour, we slept in our van for most of that too. Up until like the 3rd week. It was a 6-week tour, and I think in the 3rd week we were in Denver, and we slept in our van in a snowstorm, and we woke up all sick, like really, really sick. I think there was pneumonia going around that tour package at the time, and I know I had a little bit of pneumonia, and I think the other guys did too, but we woke up sick, and the van wouldn't start because it was too cold, and so we were in the middle of a blizzard, and Tyson's flagging down people with big trucks to be like, hey, can you jump us? And then that day I was like, you know, we'd been, at that point too, we had been like on and off with like colds, or probably more than a cold. We'd just been on and off with like sicknesses, everybody was getting it. And then I was like, we're not getting any better, you know? Like, we're not getting proper rest here, and I think that we need to start investing in a hotel room for us to sleep in so we can actually recover and not destroy our bodies.
Yeah.
But you have to just be willing to destroy your body for a little bit, you know, it's just part of it. Like, I'd go on stage and my back would be so fucked up from just like sleeping in the van for weeks. But it was fun. I look back on it really fondly. It was a good time.
I've only, I would say, done 1.5 tours. Like this last one we did was just a weekender. But just that week of touring, it's kind of amazing how disoriented you could get.
It's not the real world. You're living in a different world when you're on the road.
Mhm.
Like, that's what I realized. Like,
Yeah.
all these people, you're driving through cities of people you've never met and probably never will meet or see again, but they're just like working, you know, it's 1 p.m. on a Tuesday, all these people are going to work and you're just like living in your van looking at them and you're just like, I'm in a completely different world than you right now. And it's very cool. I almost romanticized that part of it when we first started. And I think that was like the getaway from like work and our job. Like it was like, just go live on the road and like say fuck it, you know? Live without any money and just, yeah. The only thing you're worried about is getting to the next show. That's the only thing that matters.
I've only toured with Dead People Park, so like traveling with Fluke and Grayson and Ethan, like there's always like these little gimmicks that come about, and it's usually from like a tool that Fluke brings and overuses. So for like the first tour, it was like a bike horn, like the classic like cloud sound, like bike horn.
What would he even use that for? What did he use it for?
Just to like, as like punctuation of the end of sentences.
Oh, okay. So a tool that was a toy. Yeah.
I think.
So Ryan likes toys. He's a toy guy.
Yeah, you brought like a tiny bop it last time. Usually the toy's broken by the end of it though.
There's a fart toy.
Oh yeah, we had a fart box last time.
Awesome. That's great.
I guess I brought that gimmick stuff up because I'm curious if there's any stuff that you guys have experienced that kind of were in that realm.
One of the first things that comes to mind for me is on the Wax Bodega tour, we had just gotten we had gone from Vancouver to, it was Sacramento. Yeah, Sacramento. And we had, everybody in the tour had finally gotten over their sicknesses. We were like, it was sunny in California, and like one of the best parts on tour is when there's like a big parking lot to hang out in. And I just, it's, especially when it's nice outside, like getting outside and like not just sitting in the green room all day, and just being able to like have a beer outside and hang out, throw a frisbee, whatever. But we had a day where we were all just like playing catch with a football and throwing frisbees and just drinking in the parking lot and with all the bands. And then Lucas, the singer from Carly Cosgrove, had got this like, you know those like, it's like a little propeller toy where it's got like a stick and then a propeller and you spin it with your hands and it shoots up into the air, you know? He had just gotten one of those and we were all playing frisbee and he was just so like perplexed by it, like he loved it so much. He's like spinning it up and we were all laughing about it. And then we all started messing with it too. And he went inside and our media / photographer guy, Ty, he grabs it and the first thing he does, he spins it and it goes immediately onto the roof of the next building. And we're all like, oh shit, dude, like Lucas really liked that toy. Like, you fucked up, man, like he's gonna be upset. And Ty walked into the next building, which was a restaurant, and the roof was not accessible to like the public. So he just like, that's another thing about being on tour, just a sidebar, like you feel like if you walk anywhere with purpose and intention, people will not question you. And like on the road, for some reason, that just comes more natural. But Ty pulled that out of his bag and he just walked through the employee area and up the stairs, like through like the whatever was going on upstairs, found the way outside onto the roof, went up and grabbed the toy and just walked back. And I was like, did anybody say anything? He's like, no, I just walked up there. But yeah, that was a fun time.
I do feel like some level of confidence in playing in different cities too.
Oh yeah.
Comes up because you're like, I don't know these people. They might not know me, and I can pretty much just show up and play.
Yeah, you just completely get over that, because, like, yeah, we look so, like, what we do, like, we look so stupid up there. Like the performing on stage is just so dumb and fun, and it's like we look like idiots in front of people for a living now. And, you know, when you're able to do that, you just, like, you realize nothing really matters. It's like an optimistic nihilism, you know, where none of this matters. Like, I'm just gonna do what I want.
Mm-hmm.
And you have the confidence to be like, if I walk into this restaurant's back area and somebody notices me, they're just the worst thing that's gonna happen is they're gonna say, hey, you can't be back here, and I'm just gonna say, okay, and walk out. You know, it's part of being on the road. Like, you're just in another world, and you meet all these other people. Like, as you start to do it for a living, like, you meet all these other people who also do it for a living, and it's just like this community. And some of my best friends in the world I've met that way. We just have a very similar mindset. You know, the world's in a pretty bleak place, but at the end of the day, nothing really matters. So it's like we're just out doing what we want to do.
Yeah. What else is better than playing music you love with people you love and getting to see the world?
Yeah. I mean, that's still what I like to do when I'm home here. Like if I'm not doing anything, like I'll probably this weekend be like, try and scroll through Instagram and see whatever the hell new house venues popped up, like if there's any shows going on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what I like to do too.
Yeah.
Like that's like one of my favorite things, just being in a really gross, sweaty basement and standing next to a washing machine while some noise band blows your fucking ears out. You know, it's like, it's romantic to me.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
It's like we're all here for this. Like,
Yeah.
that's kind of crazy. Like, it's like, I've never heard this music before, but look at us, we all just showed up to, like, be together and listen.
Yeah.
Like, it's very connecting.
And
It's
you meet
cool.
a lot of like really cool people.
Yeah, and it's important that people are doing that, like,
Yeah.
for sure. Anyway.
Yeah, because I mean, emo music and the DIY emo is like the punk. It's the punk of the modern age, like where we're at now, like punk music and that sentiment. A lot of people say it died, but it really just moved over to like dive bars.
Yes. Yeah.
And then now it's like emo music, and DIY emo is that carries over that punk, like anti-capitalist, like community, and that sentiment is carried over now through like the basement show scene and like DIY,
Mm-hmm.
like where punk kind of broke off and went like mainstream or like into Hot Topic, like DIY emo like stayed in this lane, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like I would say that we're in like we're the modern punks.
Mm-hmm.
And too, I've been seeing like a big surge of like screamo. Like I feel like that's a new route that's being taken by a lot of bands who might have been like more traditionally emo, like
In Kalamazoo.
in Kalamazoo, Grand Rapids, surrounding areas,
Yeah.
like Detroit especially, like
Mhm.
in Kalamazoo specifically, like Satsuma,
Yeah.
like someone, Matt Jett, who's in the most like pop punk emo band you could ever be in,
Yeah.
is now screaming his heart out.
Right, and Connor Connor is a Pistol Gang.
Yeah.
Just making like kind of weird electronic country-esque music. And I mean, Connor's always been into emo. Like he used to be in a band called I forget the name of it. It was a 3-piece with him and Gabe Clements, who now plays bass in Worry Club, and Tuck Harbaugh, one of my good buddies, who used to play drums in Worry Club as well. But they had a 3-piece where he was tapping and screaming on stage and singing about vaping. That was like the only thing they did. And then it was great. And now Connor's in Satsuma, which Dan from the Reptilian was probably, I mean, I never really knew about them until we started playing in this scene, and that's like the main emo, like screamo band that people bring up from Kalamazoo. and then Jimbo, of course. Like, that's a hell of a lineup. That's really cool. So it's cool to see like people who have been in those DIY projects kind of come together and make something that's so cohesive and so emotional and raw, just hardcore. It's sick. There's a lot of that going on.
Like I feel like I've been witnessing like a pivot to more aggressive music.
Yeah, because people are feeling angry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes sense with the times, and I feel like it's often interesting to me how calm people are after leaving a show like that, or like how calm the performers are after performing like in that aggressive style.
It's cathartic. I think that's the main thing. Like, that's what we want to have for our shows, is like provide a space for people to like release and like have fun, because the world sucks. So it's like you need to, like, you're gonna be miserable if you don't ever like go out and like scream, and like providing a place for people to do that and let go, you know, like that's really important. Like that's been really important for us since the beginning, and most of the big bands, like that's a huge part of why they do it. But it starts in the basements.
Yeah. And like as a country moves to more like capitalistic ideals and even like closer to fascism, I feel like the goal is to then suppress people and make them all uniform and alike, well-contained, organized.
Right.
So I think that getting louder as like an emphasis of like, we demand freedom of speech and creative expression, like that makes sense to me, that those things would go along with each other. And the anger towards the government, just validating the need for a creative community, and that on like a local level, and the support necessary to keep that alive.
Yeah, no, and it helps with class consciousness too, like class solidarity, like realizing your neighbor who might not have all the same views as you is not your enemy. Your enemy is the person in charge of Walmart. You know, like directing your hate upward instead of outward, and coming together in the basements and fucking and screaming, you know, like if you're in the same tax bracket, you're on the same side. And I think like making people being able to come into a space like that is what helps people realize that.
So the new album is called These Things Happen, right?
Yeah.
When is that supposed to come out?
It's coming out September 12th. We just dropped the single, the first song, Waste Away, and we'll be dropping a second single in August, and then the album comes out September 12th. There's so much pressure on a second album, and especially after we've had like an EP that's had some success. Like, this is our first release with like an audience, and there's been so much pressure on it, to the point where we've like really tried to take our time with it. Like, we've been working on it for years. Eventually it kind of just all like fell together. Like you have all these ideas when you want to write a second album. You're like, I want it to be a concept album, I want it to be a story. Like, you have all these big ideas because it has to be the second album. It's the grand second album, you know. But at the end of the day, we've been working on it for so long. We were like, we just need to go into the studio. And the way it came together was really just, we all wrote our songs and then just kind of put them together to tell a story within those songs. It ended up just kind of coming together that way. That's actually the story behind the name of the album. Like, These Things Happen is from my personal favorite movie, Magnolia, but it's a story where there's a bunch of different characters and different things happening, and they all kind of like collide with each other, and it's not for any other reason than these things just happen. Like, it's just coincidence, you know. It's just what happens. There's no greater meaning, no nothing. It's like, it's just there. Like, these things happen. But
that's kind of how this album came together. And all of our stories are in there, like me, Mitch, and Gabe's. Like they're all different stories, but they're all intertwined in different ways. So, it definitely tells a story, but it's not linear. The songs are very linear, but the story is not linear. It's like it just happens, and I guess people will need to listen to the album to really understand that. But it's something that we're all pretty proud of. We have a whole U.S. tour coming up, and then we're also doing it's a North America tour. There's some Canada dates in there. We're doing that with Carly Cosgrove and Riley, and then we are going to Europe and the UK in January.
Cool.
And it'll be our first time headlining over there, so we're really excited about that.
Where did you record the record?
We recorded it at Homestead Studios in Chicago with Tyler Floyd. He did Always Cloudy and Something We're Celebrating. So he kind of like created our sound. So it just felt right to go back to him for this one. And he's actually been on the road, like touring, doing sound with us now. So that's part of how we operate too. Is like people are like, when people work with us, like you're a part of the team, you know. So touring and recording are not really separated now. It's like Tyler's with us for both. Yeah, he crushed it. He played a really he played the producer role on this album more than he has on past ones, and he did a great job.
I feel like we're kind of reaching the final rounding thoughts and stuff. This might be kind of vague, but I'm just curious if you had to offer some piece of advice for a younger version of yourself, what would it be?
It is super cliche, but just like, yeah, enjoy all the DIY stuff, because that's very special, you know. That's once you get to a certain point, you don't get to have that back. You know, playing in a basement at times, you know, it might seem like it sucks, but it doesn't. It's awesome. It's the best thing in the world.
And why does it fade to the background?
We book almost a year in the future. You know, like we're booked up through, like, yeah, we're booked up for a year at a time. You know, like we're constantly booking and looking forward to the next thing. So it's almost like living in the future when it's that aspect, and like planning out albums and stuff. You're just always moving forward. So like just stopping and being like, wow, what I'm doing right now is actually pretty cool too. You know?
Yeah, that was going to be my next part, would be like, what kind of advising would you offer to like a future version of yourself?
Probably the same thing. Just to remember all the other stuff. I mean, I still think about that, like the basement shows all the time. But yeah, just keep that in mind and remember why you do it in the first place, you know.
And then I guess this will be my last question. Do you feel like there's anything that you guys do to kind of like stay connected to your roots, or to bring up the Kalamazoo music scene while you're touring around, or connecting with people?
Yeah, I think that we all still like to go to shows, obviously, like in Kalamazoo. Like we don't get to as much as we used to because we're not here as much, but we all like to go to shows. And I guess the main thing that I try to do is a lot of people in these successful bands or on successful touring crews working in the industry still have DIY projects that they're involved in, and connecting them and their DIY projects to Kalamazoo and sending them here, like, so people in the industry who are on both sides of the coin, like, still know about this place. Like my buddy Marty, who's toured with Arm's Length and played guitar for that band, and now does guitar tech work and sometimes performs with Origami Angel. He's got his own band called Stress Fractures, or they have their own band called Stress Fractures, and yeah, they hit me up and were like, "Can you help me book a show in Kalamazoo?" You know, so that's how I like to think that I connecting those two scenes, I guess.
Do you have any, like, of your own personal final rounding thoughts or anything you want to put out
No.
there?
Not really. Our album's coming out on September 12th. Our tour, the tickets are on sale on Friday. We've got like a new batch of merch on our website that we have to start printing here. And yeah, that's it.
Cool. Sweet.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
for
you.
having me. It was fun.